again, everybody, and welcome to Somerset Sports Talk, a presentation of Somerset County Recreation, Parks, and Tourism. I'm Gary,
I'm Jack.
and we have a special guest with us today.
And
Our
I'm
first guest, that's Bruce. Introduce yourself.
I already did.
Okay.
I'm Bruce.
That's
Nice to be
Bruce.
here.
Bruce is one of our workers. He works for the county in the Rec and Parks division.
We had to bribe him to be here.
Yeah, he thought he was going to get money for this, but we said
Oh, we're
no.
not paying you, by the way.
So, yeah.
I've been
So
sadly
you dropped your
mistrusted.
glasses. You don't wanna,
Oh, shoot.
Don't want to step on those.
No.
I've been there.
Yeah.
So we got a big show today. We have a show that is programmed. We decided, Bruce and I, how this all came about, decided that we heard something on TikTok
Yep.
about who's the most dominant athlete. And we're like, hey, we can come up with a list of that. So we started throwing names at each other as we're in the truck going to cut grass. And we thought, hey, and I said, no, I can make this a show. I want you to be on it. So he thought he'd come here and school us all with his knowledge. And the topic is the most dominant athlete. But before we get to that, I want to mention something.
You're talking dominant athlete in the sphere of the history of
It can
sport?
be
Anything, yes.
That's
I mean, like
a
an
career.
older versus a younger?
Yes.
you know,
Yeah,
the
it's,
whole-
There's
any,
now.
So, nothing...
You and I are similar in age. We're older. You're younger. I've seen a lot of the people that we're going to talk about, that I'm going to talk about.
Yeah.
Some I haven't. And then some obscure names who have been totally dominant.
Right.
We're going to shed some light on their
Well, that's
names.
good you bring something like that in, because usually this kind of viewpoint comes from who you've seen or who you've
Right.
experienced.
Yeah. And
So,
so I think the youngest that's going to go back, I think it goes back a ways. And we'll
Yeah.
talk about that in a minute.
okay. all
But
right.
first I want to
Sorry.
talk,
Okay.
here in Somerset County, we had a big event. One of our co-workers, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago, Donnie Price, was inducted into the Eastern Shore Baseball Foundation Hall of Fame and Museum. And it's a pretty big deal. There's some pretty big names in that Hall of Fame, and Donnie went in mostly as a contributor. He did a lot of statistician work. I know he did a lot of work at Washington High with their baseball program. And his wife Judy was out there on the field. The event happened at a Shorebirds, Delmarva Shorebirds game. And before the game, they handed out all the plaques to the people who were inducted. Donnie was a whiz with numbers. We always joke that we never needed a telephone book in the office because Donnie knew everybody's name and phone number. And to me, one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my life. Just a super nice guy. And he loved youth sports. And it's just a very nice tribute to Donnie and his family. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
And we have the event, the golf event in October
yeah,
to benefit the youth sports for the county.
yeah, named after
Named
Donnie.
after him.
Yeah, the Donnie Price
So
Memorial
he must have been
Scholarship.
quite a
Fund.
guy. I was too
Yeah.
late to ever know him or meet him.
Great guy. You probably played against him.
Yeah, I probably played against. I never met him personally
Right.
through work.
Yeah, but like always involved. Even when he was retired from working with us, he still stayed involved in the community, and just a great guy.
Cool.
So congratulations to the Price family. All right, now to the meat and potatoes of what we're going to do. And before we start, said we brought Bruce in. He wanted to do this. I know two people who watch this regularly, which God love them.
Yeah.
To sit and
There's
listen
something
to us.
wrong with you?
Yeah, mostly because they like to pick on their little brother, me. So,
Oh, okay.
my two brothers, who are regular watchers, I said, hey, this is what we're going to do. We want more voices. Send me some stuff. Send me what you think. And again, this can go for anybody. Anytime you want to talk to us, send an email, ghicks@somersetmd.us. I'll be happy to read anything you say, as long as the words are proper and you're not cussing me out. But so my two brothers are also, I'm reading, they can't be live. They live in Wisconsin. So they sent me some stuff, and we're going to be adding their thoughts on this too. So it's a pretty good panel. So let's get right to it, and let's talk about dominant players. We were all over the map on this. Dominant players, dominant teams, dominant for a season, dominant for a career, most clutch, whatever. There's a whole bunch of different stuff. But I'm going to, and my one brother, Mike, and you're going to see a lot of papers flipping around and a lot of glasses on and off for this one. But, yeah, he said he's a long-time listener, first-time contributor. So that's like saying long-time listener, first-time caller.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'd like that.
We go so far back.
Yeah, really. What's 6 months? He said, before we start any discussion, it has to be what dominance is. And he said dominance is defined as the fact or state of being dominant, such as controlling, prevailing, or powerful position, especially in a specific hierarchy. So, it's as good a definition, I think, as we can come up. Again, I'm an eye test guy. If they pass the eye test, then I think they're good enough. Same with dominance, and everyone's idea of dominance might be different. But we're going to go around and we're going to try to come up with a list, and if there's people in different sports, we may argue a little bit about it.
Exactly.
And so here we go. Bruce, since you're the new guy, go ahead and you give us a dominant player.
A dominant player.
And or animal.
And or animal.
Oh,
I will start off
Do you want to look at it?
with person I wish I got to see play more in the league. It was Shaquille O'Neal in the 2001 to 2002 years specifically. His
So
whole
you're
career
just
was
doing-
dominant, in my opinion. But in 2001 to 2002, he averaged 27.2 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists in 67 games. Attended the All-Star game, his 9th overall. He won the All-Star MVP, which you said doesn't matter, but he still won it.
Yeah.
He won his 3rd ring and also won his 3rd Finals MVP for his career.
what team was he on? Do you remember
The Lakers. He was on the Lakers.
That? Did he have a partner in that team that was pretty good?
And there was someone else.
Wasn't there a kid named Kobe
There was
Bryant?
someone else.
Well, that's-
But I just wanted to go with that one season because he had a great.
he was a great player, man. I used to love watching him.
And people I feel like will say Shaquille was dominant, just his size, the way he played. I mean, how he played was dominant. But just that one season for me, for reading and trying to pick numbers out, that stuck out to me as a dominant performance, a dominant season.
All right, I'm trying to kind of, because I don't really have seasonal people. I'm trying to think who else had a dominant season. You can always go with Jordan, any one of his championships.
Oh, of course, it's
Dominant.
that's the whole point. Just basically Shaq. That's kind of, like I said, overall he's in my opinion,
Right.
dominant player. But I just wanted to go for his most dominant season. Which you could compare, like you said, Michael Jordan, any of his seasons, any of like Wilt Chamberlain seasons, even like a Kobe Bryant, LeBron season, even now a Steph Curry season could be dominant.
The only season, well, there's a couple of things you could say. Like Oscar Robertson averaged a triple-double, but and who's the guy? Russell Westbrook. He had like 3 seasons where he averaged triple double.
Yeah.
Like that's dominant also, and
Is
you
it,
can.
is it dominant though, or is it just they're
stuffing.
playing good?
Yeah.
And dominance is in my world. I see dominant is not just doing it one season. You gotta kind of be that guy for a sustained period of time, because anybody can come out and have a great season and then disappear.
Right.
Now, if you're defining a great season as a dominant season,
But it's a
sure.
dominant season,
So I
yeah,
think
if
the
that-
parameters,
if you do that, yeah.
so
And then
you
I
can put it in there.
I can always say Wilt.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
He averaged 50 points
Right.
a year one year.
And see, there's my point about we didn't really get to see Wilt dominate.
I saw him at the end of his
And,
career.
Such a key there.
it had to be just mind blowing
I
to
can't
see the guy
imagine.
out there
And this is like a great
scoring at will.
And this is like a great point between the difference in your guys is because
Yeah.
we all see
Yeah.
more
We
by
have.
far by
Yeah.
almost 2 to 3 lifetimes compared to me.
That's so true. I'm really glad you brought that
Yeah.
up.
So like
But in
my
these discussions,
We'll
it
go
really does
2.
make a
We'll go
difference.
2
yeah
lifetimes, not
2
3.
double life.
Yes, I'm too like.
Like
I don't want to be that old.
yeah, like both of these guys said, dominance in my eyes is probably way different because they've probably seen guys that were unbelievable that I wish I could have seen play.
Right, yeah.
Ever just on TV,
I
not
mean,
even
and
in person.
to me, the people of my youth, for the most part, are the ones that, in my head, are like the stars. Like I looked up to those people as I was growing up, and we're like, that's why the debate. Well, even it's so generational. Like who was better, Jordan or LeBron? It's hard to say who was better, Ruth or Aaron.
Yeah, that's always a
That's-
conversation
yeah.
that is, it's had daily on
Yeah.
radio. I hear it all
Yeah.
the time. ESPN still makes an issue bringing up all that kind of stuff because it's ratings and it's what
Yeah.
we do. We like to talk about it.
Yeah,
It's
and
water
again,
cooler
again,
stuff.
those when I was a kid, like Johnny Bench was like,
Yeah,
and to me he's the best there's ever been.
Yeah.
Now other people might say Pudge Rodriguez or somebody now, I don't know
Right.
who's good now anymore, but they stick out in my memory. So we do have an advantage over you for some of this.
And also, as you see, they said people, I don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
I have no clue
That's
who
right.
they are.
Yeah,
Which I know, like he said, Jordan and LeBron. I know Jordan, never seen him play. Don't even think I was born in his lifetime of his career. But still know he's
Yeah.
unbelievable player.
yeah, that's right. And if you'd seen Isaiah Thomas or Allen Iverson, those kind of players, they had some just dominant
yeah.
traits
Yeah.
on their positions that
The year
won games, won championships, the whole thing.
the
So,
year Iverson took the Sixers to the playoffs.
yeah.
And I think they lost in 5 or 4
I have it.
to the Lakers.
There you go.
I have it.
He had about Iverson
Yeah, it's
and
right
his
here.
stuff.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right.
Tell me what his stuff is, and I'll tell you which one had a more dominant year.
I got
vote
that
on this.
game.
Oh,
Oh,
but
actually- actually, it was on
that
top.
year, I think he was MVP. I'm not sure, but he and please don't fact check us on all this because we're not.
Yeah,
This is-
we're not 100% sure on this.
So I got that. I only got that one game. That's
okay.
that's I looked up because I seen that. I was wondering because no, that was 2000, 2001. The year Shaquille I'm
Yeah.
talking about is 01 to 02. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
So that was the year prior. But I'm still almost positive that the Lakers only lost that one game
in the whole playoffs.
in the whole playoffs, and
Yeah.
it was the Allen Iverson
Yeah.
with
No.
48
Yeah,
points.
that was a dominant team. I think the 76ers with Dr. J and Moses Malone went through and only lost one game through their win.
Okay.
But like you said, that's a dominant.
Yeah.
Just that one game is like it was a dominant performance. I don't know the whole stats about who scored what and all, but he beat them one game.
All right. So I'm going to give you a couple names here, and we can either rank them or we can argue about them or whatever. Mike came up with Joe Louis, and then he's like, he won 66 wins over his 18-year career. He was the heavyweight champion for 12 years, and he had 25 title defenses.
Mm.
And that was Joe Louis's 40s? Is that?
40s or 50s.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when.
Right.
Again, that's before my
Well,
time.
Yeah, that was.
I didn't know.
Who did Ali shock the world in the first when he was 20?
Floyd Patterson?
21 or 2. Wasn't
Yeah.
Joe Louis. Somebody there was
Floyd Patterson.
Floyd Patterson.
Yeah.
That's what that was.
Joe Louis was in the 40s because I actually was going to do something about him because he was the guy. When me and Gary first came up with this, I did a little bit of research when we got off work, just still talking, still brainstorming. And his name, Joe Louis, popped up. His fight, I believe it was in 1938 against,
Snap Schmeling.
yep, what he said, I could not pronounce it. A
That's a
guy,
little
a
assistant.
fighter from Germany.
Yeah.
And apparently it was the whole world watching. It was
Sure.
It was the whole world right before everything exploded between
The war.
Europe,
Yeah.
U.S., everybody. And the whole world was watching this one fight, USA versus Germany. And
Yeah.
Joe Louis came out and I believe knocked him out in the first round. I believe, anyway. It might have been second, might have been third, but it was early.
Yeah. Wow.
That's Joe Louis. The whole world watching, he showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't. Again, it's hard to rank who's more dominant, but we're going to try.
Yeah.
So we'll leave that in the boxing category. And then another one that Mike had. We're going old school. In baseball is going to be Ty Cobb.
Oh boy, he's going back in the day.
That's way back.
And
in
I
the
saw
day.
Ty Cobb too. Mike, just so you know, Steve, I didn't read your stuff until I printed it today. So I also had Ty Cobb, but we'll go with you because you had it first. Let's see, he played 22 seasons for the Tigers. He played in 3,305 games, had 11,429 at-bats. He's second with 2,246 runs. He's fifth with 5,854 total bases. He had 4,189 hits. He's fourth in doubles, second in triples, seventh in RBIs, and fourth in stolen bases. His 367 batting average is the best ever. Is that a dominant career?
Oh yeah.
To still have a 367 and be the number one highest average, what, still to this day?
I believe so,
that's
yeah.
Pretty.
So, yeah, that's a dominant.
dominant.
And again, like for me, when I see them, I have a sense of their domination. I have no sense of his domination.
So if Ty Cobb stood up in front of one of these 104-mile-an-hour fat fireballers, and I know that there was
Yeah, you're right.
Walter
Johnson.
Walter Johnson, yeah,
Yeah.
he threw like 100 or something
Yeah.
like that. But they didn't even wear helmets at the plate.
Well, yeah.
So
Yeah.
how fast could it be coming in?
Until the guy from the Indians got hit.
Well,
Yeah.
well, they should have been
Yeah.
probably, but that's where, ears. Maybe they played better and harder back then, and the ball was softer. And,
Well, that's what I don't know if that
all
was
of
dead
that
ball
stuff,
era or
so-
not.
Yeah,
So-
that's so hard to compare. Also, when comparing dominance or players or
Yeah, but that's the
franchises.
career stands on its own.
Yeah.
And it's such a long career.
And is he more dominant than Pete Rose?
Yeah.
Pete Rose has more. He's the all-time hits leader,
Yeah, that's
but
right.
I don't know where he stands in those categories. I would say he probably is more
He
dominant.
probably is.
But maybe Rose has more doubles or something. I don't
Yeah.
know. But we'll just put him down and then we'll see. We'll make a little note. And again, my biggest pet peeve when I see these on other platforms is that when they talk, and I told Bruce this earlier, they talk about Johnny Unitas, and people are like, "Well, he played against plumbers and auto salesmen."
Yeah.
I'm like, they did that to supplement because they weren't
Yeah.
making millions of dollars.
That's right.
Yeah.
But guess what? Johnny Unitas was a plumber or sold used cars or something too. So it's not like, Unitas was, all these other guys were just car salesmen they brought off the street.
Yeah.
All these guys who played, and I hate that argument that
Yeah.
you played in the era that you played. And you played with the rules that you played.
Right.
Now, in basketball, the 80s was more like WWE
Yeah.
sometimes than basketball.
They were.
You know?
They beat each other up. pretty
And
good.
so they talk about, you know, the big thing of the GOAT is LeBron or Jordan. LeBron is physical enough, he probably could have played in that era.
Oh, sure.
I believe he would have held his own,
Oh, yeah.
but would he have been as good? You know, when people are taking you out in midair and
Right.
just hammering you so you don't score,
Right.
and it happened to Jordan, and
It's true.
you know, so but it's a different era, it's a
Yeah.
different time.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, let's see, who else? We'll go old school first. Well, no, because I got to go through my list. I don't remember I had one. Okay. All right, Steve had Babe Ruth and John Wooden. He just mic dropped after those two. So,
That's hard, though.
thank you, Steve. So Babe Ruth, we're gonna see who's more dominant. Babe Ruth or Ty Cobb. We're gonna vote on these.
Oh, we're voting on
Yeah, because I like to have a
boy.
winner.
Would it be after the
Especially Bruce's guys or my guys. That's what I really want to win.
or animals? Or animals.
Or animals. That's right.
Remember,
We can't forget
Or
animals.
animals.
Can't forget the
Oh, no.
animals.
There's animals.
There's animals.
There's a few.
And I have Babe Ruth somewhere in here.
Yeah. Well, the whole point about Babe Ruth is he pitched as well, right?
Yeah, here it is. All right. Here's what Babe Ruth did from 1918 to 1931. Led the league in home runs 12 times. He led the league in OPS 13 times. So that was all those years.
Every year.
Slugging percentage 13 times. Runs scored, he led the league 8 times. RBI 6 and walks 9. Now RBIs, you would think he would have had more, you know. But I guess if you have Garrick hitting in front of you, he's going to clean up some.
So there's some.
He's going to clean
some
some
of that.
yeah, some of that up too.
Did he bat fourth in the lineup or third? Or
I
where did
think
he bat?
I think he batted 4th. I think Garrick batted 3rd.
So that could be.
Because that was the Murder Row team.
Murders Row, some of
Yeah.
those in the 1920s.
Yeah. Wow.
But besides that, and now this is where you're going to drop some knowledge on me. He led the league in ERA, shutouts, complete games, and games started.
Do you have the numbers on them?
I don't, but the only comparison you have, and you probably watch it more than I do, is Otani. And I don't know what his numbers are. I know he's a hell of a hitter and he's a good pitcher.
It's then again, like you said, it's on me, but back to like what Jack's saying and you saying, it's still so hard to compare because I don't. Well, you don't know off the top of your head, but like how fast did Babe Ruth throw, or what kind of pitches was he throwing like that? Like Otani cranking 102.
Otani's a freak,
And he's
man.
just
the
huge.
guy
The guy's
is an absolute.
massive.
The worst thing and possible happened to him is he's on the Angels.
Yeah.
It's just, if he was
And
on
nobody
even
sees him.
another
That's
losing
why I
team,
don't see him.
If he was on the,
It's-
you know,
Same
on
with
the
Trout.
Mets or you know,
Oh, yeah.
those guys, they just.
Yankees.
But I've seen him a bit. And
Yeah.
that is the most impressive athlete I think. One of them. I don't know if the most, but he's
Yeah.
right up there, just as an athletic guy.
Yeah.
And to do what he's doing, throwing that ball 95 to 100,
Yeah, it's
and controlling, and he's got off-speed pitches, and then he comes to the plate and he dominates the other guy. You
Yeah.
know, as a
It's-
pitcher. I mean, think about the head game. You're
and
going
he's not
through.
just like trying to crank, but like Jack said with pitches, I believe he throws a splitter, just a
He does,
very
and it's
controlled
wicked.
splitter, and
It's wicked.
he can still come up and hit a ball 420 feet with no problem.
It's
just a swing.
unbelievable. But he's so he's big and he's so strong. He's I don't know if he's big as Judge, but they're that kind of freakish, humanoid
Yeah, he's-
that you just can't even
Yeah.
imagine can exist. But he just doesn't get the fanfare that he should. He really should be celebrated more.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't because
Like,
he's lost in Los
when they
Angeles.
played in the WBC World Baseball
Yeah.
Classic, when Japan won it, and how the final thing was Trout versus Otani.
Yes.
One of the league's best hitters versus one of the league's best pitchers.
Right.
battle right there.
To the end, last batter.
Ohtani won it.
And Ohtani won it, right?
And he won it right
Good
in front
pitching.
of, right in front of. I believe it was played in Jamaica, so in front of his home
Yeah, that's right.
country.
Yeah, all the pressure,
All
and
the
he
pressure.
handled it.
And he did it.
So I hope he sticks around, but I hope he plays somewhere else that he can get something going from a following standpoint. He should be on ESPN every night, for whatever he does.
Like what Babe Ruth did, now Ohtani and other players. I think there's been a few that is both hit and pitch. I don't know none off the top of my head besides like those two, but any player that can do that and lead the leagues or do this and have just
Well, pitchers
Good
now,
stuff.
pitchers don't ever hit.
no.
And the only reason he's probably able to do what he's doing is that they let him do it in Japan
Yeah.
before he came
Well,
here.
you have to grow up doing that.
You have
so,
to.
So all his life he was a pitcher, and
Yeah.
like in high school, you pitched, you hit.
But like Scherzer, Scherzer's a great hitter. I watched him for the Nationals.
Yeah.
And he came up thinking hitting home run.
Yeah.
And oftentimes he was able to do it.
Yeah.
And Strasburg was a good hitter, but it's washed off because you got to focus on pitch.
Right.
And they
So
also
they go.
just changed the rule now that pitchers don't have to hit, right?
That's right. It's
National-
DH
yeah,
all
yeah,
across
yeah,
the league.
It's
so.
DH.
It's all across.
Oh,
Yeah,
across
so they changed it just so pitchers pitch, hitters hit.
Yep.
And then Ohtani is Ohtani.
Right. He's one in a. I mean, he's like a circus show when he comes to town. If you get the night that he's pitching, you're getting a double entry there
so
for your money.
to compare him and Ruth, it's hard to say. They're both
Yeah.
great at what they do. It's
Yeah.
hard to say he's better. They both.
I-
They do both things.
I don't know if I've ever seen an Angels game, so I can't. I've seen Ohtani on highlights. But
Yeah, well,
I've seen Ruth on highlights.
I think I saw a good portion of that game, the WBC game,
Yeah.
and so I got to see him there. And then on occasion, I'll catch a game on
All I know
television.
is he's struck out Trout
He did,
to end the game.
Right.
Was it to end the game?
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
right.
The game,
I
win the
believe it was
championship.
played in Japan in
Yeah.
front
Yeah,
of
it was
his
it was-
country.
Yeah.
And
You
he
couldn't
did
have, you couldn't have scripted it and
Yeah.
believed that it really could have happened.
Yeah.
But there it was, right? in
teammates,
living
probably
color.
friends. One of the best hitters, one of the best pitchers, right there.
It was right there.
Came right there.
And good pitching got him.
Yeah.
All right. You got somebody you want to
Go ahead,
Jack?
Jack.
You want me to dive in?
Go ahead, Jack.
Well,
Wait. I'm going to guess golfer.
well, how did you guess?
Our local
All right,
golf
so
expert.
when I think of, I didn't get into this as deep as you guys because I didn't have the sense that it was going to go as far as what you're talking about. But I picked one, and I could think of others that
Sure.
we could,
Yeah.
could throw in there. But this one could go all the way on your list.
Yeah.
And it's hard to argue against Tiger Woods
But I'll try.
It's-
Right.
I'll try.
because all right. So I'm gonna give you a little history real quick. I started playing golf in 1971. Nicholas had already dominated the 60s.
To throw it
Nicholas came up and he said, was quoted saying, Arnold's just in my way. No reverence for the man. He's just in my way. I wanted to win golf tournaments. And he won a boatload of
Yeah.
them. And so I, obviously as an 11-year-old and 12-year-old and beyond, Nicholas was always the guy,
Yeah.
and he was exciting. And God, he finished first or second or third every major. In 1975, he makes a long putt on 15, and I went to school the next day, and people were coming up going, we watched Jack Nicklaus on TV because it was the last 4 holes of the Masters for 2 hours or for not even an hour and a half on Sunday in 1975. That's all they showed.
Yeah.
And so he ended up winning. It was real exciting. Came down the last putt, and I was like, somebody actually watched golf. It was amazing. So the argument against Tiger is Jack Nicklaus as
Right.
being the greatest and the most dominant. But I go to era with golf because you can't put Ben Hogan and Sam Snead,
Yeah.
although they did play together, but you can't put one of those two against Nicklaus and Watson and Palmer and Tiger and all those. So, but I can tell you this, and having, to your point about seeing it, I watched him as a junior win 3 consecutive national championships. Then I watched him as an amateur win 3 consecutive U.S. amateur titles. So you're talking the 6 biggest tournaments that he could play in.
Yeah.
In his youth, he won 6 in a row. So right there, you could make an argument that he had the greatest amateur career ever. Nicklaus won 1 national championship.
Wow.
So he comes on the scene. While he was at Stanford, I think he won the NC2A. I'm pretty sure he did as an individual. He only was there 2 years because he left early, obviously. And then he burst upon the scene. And I can tell you, as I'm sitting here, I came home to the Masters the first round in 1997 and wanted to see Tiger Woods because he ended up winning the tournament in 96. And he didn't have to go to tour school. He played his way on. He got invitations and he finished high enough. And Curtis Strange, former great player, and he interviewed him because he was just starting his broadcast career, said, Tiger, you must feel pretty good about finishing second. And Tiger looked at him and goes, what's good about second? I don't come here to finish second. I come here to win. And Curtis was like, well, you're on a PGA Tour. He goes, I don't care where I am. I come to play to win. That's all I do. And Curtis just shut up. And it was one of the more awkward, and Curtis references that, to this day. So Tiger shot 40 on the first 9 at Augusta in 1997. Like, the phenom is going to flame out in his first Masters. Well, he then shot 30 on the back 9. So he went from 4 over to 6 under, flipped the switch, shot 70, and then he shot, 18 under par for the rest of the tournament. Something ridiculous.
Is that the one he won by 12?
He won by 12.
Yeah.
His first event, right? And so he introduced himself to the world then. And when you look at an athlete, and his dad actually had a vision and a goal that he was going to change the world. And you think, a golfer? How can a golfer change the world? Nobody watches golf. This is great. It's crazy. But with his swag and his winning ways, and the fact that he burst on the Masters first win, and then he just continued. Consistency over time in the top spot. He's unrivaled. I mean, the numbers, I got to get my glasses on. You just, all right, so 82 wins, right, in a career. 15 majors, second to Nicklaus, but I have percentages that will show that it's might favor the other side. Might favor Woods as far as that goes. He's got the lowest scoring average in history, the lowest career scoring average in history, amassed the most career earnings, the youngest to get all 4 majors in 1 year. He and Jack are the only ones to have all 4 majors 3 separate times.
Wow.
Think about that. When people make careers off of 1 major.
Oh, yeah.
And they both won 4 3 separate times, in their careers. So that's an astounding. Consecutive cuts. This is one of the ones that comes up that people, because, making a cut, that's the only way you can win the tournament.
Right.
He had 142 straight tournaments where he made the cut. It started in 1998 and ended in 2005. So he went to every tournament for 7 years and was on a weekend every time.
Yeah.
And that, they say, is one of the most astounding, crazy.
How many tour events in a year, roughly?
30. But he would play, he selected 15.
Uh-huh.
So, over that 7 years, he played 100 tournaments.
Oh, okay.
Still pretty damn good.
Yeah.
142. That's what he played over those 7 years. That's the number. The next longest streak typically was 10 or 20. So, you're looking at monster differences. He's won 23% of his professional starts, which, again, if you win 1 tournament on a tour, you can make a career out of it. Mm-hmm. He's winning almost 2.5 out of every 10 times he plays, he wins, wins the damn event. So, I mean, you can go on and on. It's 4 pages long. Yeah. I mean, it's just unreal. Now, he's defended the title 24 times, meaning he's gone back and won the term he won the previous year or the next year. 24 different times. Nobody
That's
does anything
impressive.
close to
That's,
that.
yeah, that's very
And the
impressive.
thing about it was, when I watched all of this happen. It got so bad that when we have a pool for Tiger to be, Tiger wasn't even in it because everybody picked Tiger.
Yeah.
And he was
So
in the world rankings. He was literally 4 times the points of the second place guy. I mean, it wasn't ever a contest, and you just knew when he was out there that something was going to happen and he was going to come through, and he never backed up. He's got the 54 hole. Every time he was 54 holes for like the first 60. Well, I don't know. I've got it in here somewhere. Oh, here it is. 55-4 record when holding at least a share of the lead after 54 holes.
Wow.
So that means ain't no nerves going on there.
Yeah.
He ain't backing up.
Yeah.
And that's why he put Colin Montgomery, Ernie Els, Davis Love, 3 real good players in those days, ruined their careers.
Yeah.
Phil Mickelson could have won 20 majors.
Yeah.
and Tiger hadn't been around.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the thing is that
I mean,
he it's tough to play. That's like Patrick Ewing and the Knicks. Like they could never get by Jordan, and so Patrick Ewing is a great player,
Yeah.
but he never won. I don't think he ever won the championship because Jordan was playing.
So the majors, it's all about the majors, and this is where everyone says that, little picture, Nicklaus had twice as many starts in the majors. So that's where the skew of the numbers
all
go.
right. That's why. Yeah.
But anyway, so top 10s, overall win, to 10. Tiger, 48% of the time, Tiger's in the top 10 in a major. All the majors he played in. Nicklaus 45, it's pretty even. Top 5s, Tiger 38%, Nicklaus 34%, pretty even. Runner-up, Nicklaus was runner-up a lot, 12%, Tiger 7%. And then the wins, Tiger 17% of his wins are majors, Nicklaus is 11%. So they say it's the total number, but when you have 80 more opportunity, well, not 80, 80 more opportunities, and only 3 out of 80 in Tiger's world, if he were not hurt and his wife didn't bust him up with a 9-iron and all these things that happened to him.
That hurts.
And that's part of why, some of this is tempered with the reality that he had some issues on the on the home front, but on the golf course he changed everything in golf.
Yeah.
Everything. He was transformative to the point that the young players now revere him in such a way that it's almost godlike. It's just crazy. They all grew up watching him play.
And like he brought weightlifting into the.
Well, when he came out, he was a skinny little thing.
Yeah.
And he ate Big Macs, and they talked about that.
That was me one time. We have something in common with
Right?
Tiger.
So that's right. But then he brought the element of physical fitness that Gary Player had done all his years.
Yeah, he was always.
And I don't know if he was inspired by Player, just said, look, and I think some of it had to do that people kept saying, well, your back's going to give out because you swing so hard and this and everything. So I think he got himself in shape for that. And he also had this unending desire to be number one. They said, and I heard a stat literally just recently, from a book written by his caddy that was a famous Australian guy. And they would go in to sign their scorecard, and there was always a live score sheet or live score screen on the, up near the table, and the guys are all coming in after day 4, and they're looking to see where they finished and how much money they might make and all. He said Tiger never glanced at one event anytime he ever was in there. He didn't care one bit about what's going on there.
Yeah.
If he wasn't first, he didn't care one bit about what the result was. So, and if he was first, he knew he was first, so it didn't matter. But I can say that before Tiger, in 1996, when I think he won the first event, or he finished high enough to get it. No, he must have won because he couldn't get in the Masters. So he won maybe $150,000 for first prize, maybe. Well, now we're in the age of the tour putting $20 million purses up, where first prize is $3.6 million.
Yeah.
So that's the Tiger money, and they say that everybody that plays or has played in the Tiger era, after the money came and all these deals were made, they just should get on their knees and say thanks for the house.
Well,
thanks
he
for
brought that TV
beach
money.
property. Well, the TV money because he was
everybody
compelling.
wanted to watch
He
Tiger.
was compelling.
And it didn't matter.
And he came through and he won. See,
Yes.
it was the classic thing is that love him or hate him. A lot of people didn't like him.
Yeah.
But it was fun to root against him,
Yeah.
but it was fun to root for him too.
Yeah.
And that's what the old, you're like, I hate Tiger. And then they tell you how he did this, and he did this, you know. And like, well, you must be watching him. If you hate him, why are you watching him?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, they did.
So,
And again, I mean,
I don't know how you say that that's not the most dominant of a sport ever, right?
And also to help him, I believe, because I did a little bit of research, because it's hard to say, because they're compared to that. Because for one, you could be like, well, some of the players he played against, well, it don't matter. It's golf. It's hard. Golf is super hard. It's
he
super
can only
hard.
compete against the guys that are there.
That's right.
And he's more or less competing against himself, because
Yes.
if you miss one shot into a water hazard, that's what, +2 for a hazard, or plus, and it could throw off your whole game. You're
That's
done.
right.
That's your tournament right there. You're done off the first tee. You can hit it right to a hazard.
Yes.
It's my problem.
And
I
also
keep
with
the
Tiger, when I was doing a little research, he led, I think, 356 or something consecutive weeks as world number one.
Yes.
In total, 600 some, which beats out the next closest
by
person
far. By far. He
at
played
least a double.
He played as close to perfect golf as you can play for a very long time.
Yeah.
He was the best putter, best chipper, you know, best in the sand, and sometimes the best driver. His driver was a little bit squeaky, but he just knew that if he missed the green, he had half a chance of making the thing.
Yeah.
And that's why he had such a desire to stay ahead that he would execute. He always executed, and he shot these numbers that are just, and the pressure didn't matter. He's the only guy to have all 4 major trophies on his mantle at the same time. Now, 3 of them were in the
Tiger
one
Slam,
year, and the
yeah,
Masters was in the next year.
Tiger Slam.
But the Tiger Slam is a real thing to think about, that a guy could have 4 consecutive major tournaments in his possession. Is out. You know,
is
it's just
unbelievable.
astounding. It's just astounding.
And again, that was such a passionate speech. I don't know if I can. I was like, I want Jack Nicklaus.
Yeah, well, hey, listen, I'm passionate about Nicklaus too.
Yeah.
And I could probably give you equal reasons to say, well, Nicklaus was the same or better.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And Nicklaus had a
that's
funny
right.
quote, you know, in one of his, he goes, man, if I knew he was going to get this close while I was still alive, I might have played longer. Because I might have got me another one, which was false. Because the last one he got, he was 46 years old.
46, yeah.
Which another thing Lee could also say is kind of helps. Like, how do you think more people watch golf in the Tiger era or the Nicklaus era?
And
More
Tiger.
eyes. So,
but it's a different.
Now that part's different because of the interest in golf became greater because in 1968 the players, see, prior to 68 they were PGA members and they had to, you know, work in their clubs and things, and so Palmer and Nicklaus pulled them out of that with McCormick Management and said, look, we have a product here that stands on its own, but they don't need to be going to, you know, anything else but this.
Yeah.
And most of them didn't do anything but that anyway, but it elevated it when they split off from the PGA of America to be able to make their own deals with the TV and with sponsors and with courses that hold events and so on and so forth.
And
So
TV was totally different back then.
and so it was totally, but Nicklaus is Nicklaus and Palmer are credited with bringing it to the TV era in a way that it became compelling enough to put it on Saturday and Sunday for an hour and a half or 2 hours tops.
Because Arnie was the king.
And Arnie was the
and
king.
Arnie's Army.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden,
But Arnie's
this
last victory
young kid.
was 1973.
Yeah.
So they, you know, and Nicklaus went on a tear where he was in the majors and he finished first, second, or third, 16 straight. He was first, second, or third, 16 straight majors.
Yeah.
So you could make an argument, it's like, 4 straight years, and the worst he finished was third in any of the majors.
And that's the only thing is that maybe it's because Tiger was so dominant, but there was no, I guess Mickelson for a long time, maybe Davis Love, David Duval.
Well, Mickelson was out before Tiger.
Yeah.
I mean, he came out before Tiger did.
But they never really, I don't think, found that rival
Well, the
Maybe it's because he
rivalry.
was so good.
Well, the rivalry was tougher because he intimidated.
Yeah.
And see, Nicholas was an intimidator too. And they used to say that you knew Nicholas was coming, and he knew you knew
He was coming.
He was coming.
Yeah.
And Nicholas used to say that until the last 9 holes, it was kind of once he got to the last 9, he goes, "No, this is
They're
interesting,"
going to turn it on.
and he was able to bring it
Yeah.
and close it. But I can tell you this: Nicholas missed a lot of 3-footers in his day that could have won a lot more tournaments, because you see these highlights and you go, "Holy moly, he missed that 3-footer on 17."
Yeah.
Tiger had another stat, and I don't have it here, but I know that he had a stat that he made some phenomenal 300-400 3-footers and in without a miss.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy never missed from
Yeah.
short range. And in the highest of competition, you expect somebody to miss.
Yeah.
He just never
Well,
missed.
plus with all the eyes on you, having that, I guess, thousands of people watch you just in the stands, not to mention these cameras, whoever watch you, you're one shot to win, let's say, a PGA championship or another championship.
It's so wow.
And he never missed.
He never missed.
It's hard to compare.
And he did the fist pump, and
Oh, yeah,
everybody
that was-
either loved it or hated it. But
Yeah,
it
it's-
was a compelling, exciting TV. Plus, he won. I saw another thing in here that he won eight tournaments, 3 separate years, which is unheard of because he only played 15, 16 tournaments, so he was winning half the time he
Half the
played.
time.
It's halftime.
But that's what TV loves. See, if they know that a team's going to come in and dominate, they like that.
Oh, yeah.
Because then, then there's something to talk about and say, this has never happened before. He's
Yeah.
he's gonna just, and he does it, and then he does it.
Yeah.
And that's why the TV revenues kept jumping, because they said finally he was worth 25% of a raise in the gate for people to come
Yeah.
watch. When he was in a tournament and versus not being in a tournament, he brought 25% more revenue for people coming in. So the TV had that number of viewers
And
raise
they,
up.
They could, yeah.
And so that's why he was able, they could command such a, if Tiger was playing, then the ad revenue was
It
huge.
was, yeah, it was.
So,
And all I got is Nicholas won 18 majors and placed second. This is Mike's. And placed second 19 times.
Right.
So that's the only thing you can say
That's
about
right.
dominance. So
For overall, him versus other sports, he is a very, very great contender.
we'll see about that. We're working our
Thank
way
you.
to that.
There's-
It's a great person to put up.
Yeah.
Could possibly be the best. Or
Because
the most dominant.
the other thing that if an athlete can penetrate the world's interest,
Yes.
and not just the USA and not just the sport,
And that's part of the domination.
that's the thing.
And I think
People who never played golf went to watch it.
Yeah.
They couldn't care less about golf, but they wanted to see, and they
Right.
still do.
Yeah.
If he shows up to a tournament, even though he's Mr. Gimpy and can't handle, because of the physical part, I watch. Listen, if he plays, I'm glued to the set,
Right.
and I'm not the only guy. And so when you have that kind of Jordan had an impact in the world also, but
Yeah.
a lot through shoes, because people wear shoes,
Yeah.
right? So Mikey's on their feet. Now he had an awesome career, which helped obviously
Yeah.
bring all those people into the foe. But his shoes penetrated every neighborhood across the land,
Right.
whether they played basketball or not. And that's another, you could put him up there as, and guess who are great buddies?
Yeah.
Jordan
And Tiger.
and Tiger
It's because they got the same mentality.
and Federer. Federer was in that
And
mix
he's-
with Tiger.
Yeah, they have the same
They,
mentality.
they understand one another because they had that dominance in their sport for as long as they
Federer's
did.
a guy I have as honorable mention.
Honorable mentions.
I didn't get him
I don't
out.
know enough about him. I know that
I-
he did a lot of great things.
Federer is a very, very great tennis
Right.
professional.
He was
Great with a
unbelievable.
lot of wins, a lot of great
Yeah.
dominant performances.
Yeah.
But see, no, he's
He's in the-
recently retired.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's in the top 3 as
And-
far as dominant male, which him, Djokovic, and Nadal won 55 out of 66
But-
majors.
Right.
Can you be dominant when those two other guys
It's hard to say.
are winning as
I know.
much as
It's
you?
hard to say.
That's right.
And that's the the three of them are dominant because nobody else is winning majors.
Yeah.
But can any one of those guys be the most dominant?
Well, that's the thing about Nicholas, okay, because you had Gary Player, Palmer. They call him the Trevino, kind of on the outskirts of that, but they call him the Big Three.
Yeah.
And there was a period where the three of them won every Masters for 10 years or something. If it wasn't Arnie, it was Jagger, it was Larry, and boom, boom, boom. Every year was one of the three.
Right.
So, yeah, the three dominated the 10 years. But is one of them, but it's hard to argue against Jack in his era. And,
was Player an official starter at Augusta this year? I thought so.
Yes.
He still looks like he's in great shape.
He can still hit it.
Oh my God, I bet,
He's 88.
I bet
I think he's
hit
80
that
years old.
over 200 yards.
I think so.
Yeah.
And he did a big old kick.
Yeah, that ain't fair that somebody
It was so fun to
can
watch.
hit farther than me.
He was something.
Well,
all right, go ahead. You got somebody you want to talk about?
Sorry, I dominated the conversation.
No,
well,
passion. I love passion. I don't
passionate.
care who it is. Passion is
Jack dropped might be the most dominant player, but I'll have to drop my one big guy, my one big main name that we were talking about before we started this.
all right.
That it might blow everybody's mind about this guy's statistic, his alkaloids, just everything. Sorry if I butchered
Aren't
your
those
name.
breath mints? Alkaloids?
Alkaloids.
Oh,
Sorry.
Okay. No, I wasn't sure. But
If I butcher his name, sorry, but I believe it's Alexander Kralin. Is his name?
This is so. Wait, because I got two wrestlers.
Yep.
So
That's mine. I'll go into all his stats and everything.
go ahead.
He was a Greco-Romanian wrestler, which he'll describe after I give this guy's nicknames as
Greco-Roman.
Greco-Roman wrestler for the Soviet Union and Russia. Better known as the Russian Bear, the Russian King Kong, Alexander the Great, and the Experiment.
I saw that too.
Yep.
That's a lot of names.
Yeah.
The Experiment.
And
The Experiment.
Kind of wonders what they
the heck
did
does
to
that mean?
experiment on
And
him.
this is in around the 1980s, 1990s, so you can explain what his form of wrestling is for people who don't know.
I believe it's freestyle is what we normally think of. Takedowns, pins, escapes, reverses, where you all get points for that. And Greco-Roman, I believe, is just throws. Is you gotta get the guy and get him on the ground. Almost like judo in a way, but there's no kicks or anything. But that's the kind of wrestling I believe it is. Again, don't fact check me.
Yeah. I believe I'm saying so. Alexander.
Sure.
His career record is 887 and 2.
He must have been very upset about those
87 and 2.
They might have come early.
Two was his last match, by the way.
Oh, his last match he lost? Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
What was he, 75 years old or
No,
something?
so let's start with he won Summer Olympic super heavyweight matches.
Oh, wow.
In 1988, 1992, 1996, gold medals.
Okay.
2000 was a silver, and I believe what Gary said is what
okay.
he retired on that. He
okay.
retired in 2000. He started wrestling for the World Wrestling Championships in 1989. Is when he won his first gold medal. 9 years in a row, he won gold medals.
9 in a row.
9 years in a row.
That's a pretty dominating
for wrestling
situation there.
For wrestling for the FILA Wrestling European Championships. Started in 1988, won a gold every year for 12 years in a row.
12 years?
Until 2000.
Oh,
and I believe he retired in
then
2000.
He hit the cliff or whatever.
He has multiple awards. He was named one of the 25 best athletes of the 20th century.
So we've seen him on the stand, getting the medal and all that. Yeah, I kind of have a vague memory
who
of
did I
some
say
of that.
beat him? Did I say Roland Gardner?
I believe you did.
I watched that match, by the way. I remember him.
Do they show a lot of?
Well, it was in the Olympics.
Yeah, I know. Did they show a lot of it, or was it
I
something that
think
you had to go find?
You saw that because it was an American against the Russian
Yeah. Oh, so the
Heavyweight.
Russian part. Of it.
Yeah, it's
championship.
Right.
Undefeated guy, young kid from America,
Right.
and old hand from Russia, and,
Yeah,
and the young kid beat him. I
Yeah.
remember watching that.
Is there any controversy with the
Scoring?
steroids or anything?
no, nothing really came up
No?
besides.
Yeah, because them
Yeah,
Russians, you
nothing.
know, they were having some issues there for a while.
National flag bearer for 3 consecutive Olympics for Russia.
Is that right?
He was named the greatest Greco-Roman wrestler of the 20th century by the International Federation of the Associated Wrestling Styles. There was a statistic that I seen that blew my mind. For 6 years in a row, wrestling. I don't know how many. It didn't say how many matches in the 6-year period, but to be 887 and 2 losses wrestling, right around, we'd say probably 13 years for Olympic and national championships, and
Right.
6 years in a row he did not lose a point. He did not
He
get.
didn't have a point
He did
against
not.
him?
Yeah, did not have a point against him in 6 years.
Nobody took him
In
down.
6 years.
6 years.
Whew, that's Tiger-like right there.
And you can say, well, I mean, it's the gold medals are World Wrestling Championships at 130 kilos.
Yeah.
3 Olympic gold medals, 1 silver at heavyweight and then 130 kilos.
Yeah.
And then the Feli Wrestling European Championships with, I don't know how big of a scene. I believe European wrestling is bigger than the American
Yes,
scene.
it is. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because you have people from
Yeah.
all these countries
Yeah,
in
that's
Europe
more of a
wrestling, and he won 12 in
Deep
Europe.
historical
Yeah.
type of deal.
Like
yeah.
Greco wrestling, I'm assuming comes from Greece, maybe
Good time.
Greece or Rome, or at
Could
least
be.
Roman. Well, that's
Greco-Roman.
European, and it probably
Roman
came
and
up-
Greece. Gotta,
Yeah.
gotta be Roman Greco.
Yeah,
Yeah. Greco-Roman.
and so it
Okay.
came up through their history.
All right, so now I got 2 wrestlers that I thought of.
Okay.
And the one is Cale Sanderson, 159-0, his college
Ooh,
wrestling career.
that's pretty good.
4 national championships, 4 state high school championships, a gold medal in 2004. He's the only NCAA wrestler. Again, the information we got, I don't know what year it was that I got this, but the only NCAA wrestler to go undefeated his whole career.
Wow.
Now, we're going to just add a little on here. He's a coach. He coaches at Penn State. He's won 10 national championships. 235, 26-2 is the team record since he's been. So that's one. Then we're going to do one more. Let's go, and I don't know if you remember this guy or not. I remember him when I was a kid. Dan Gable.
Yes, that's the name I was looking for. I watched him.
Yes.
He was a big sensation.
117-1.
Yeah.
2 national championships, 1 national runner-up, a gold medal in 72, 3 state championships undefeated in high school, and again, just an amazing coach. 355, 21, and 5 as a coach at Iowa, and I didn't see how many national championships they won.
Yeah.
But he,
Isn't it interesting that both of them were great coaches? That
Yeah.
That they even their greatness, because most of the time great athletes are so self-absorbed.
right, it's hard to be a
not
coach.
necessarily a transfer
Yeah.
of information to kids.
And they both, I think they both wrestled at Iowa State.
Well, yeah, that's the powerhouse, right? Or
Well, Gable made Iowa,
Oh, that's
like
right.
they,
That's
like
what it
for
was.
20 years
Yeah,
they
yeah,
were.
yeah,
I'd
yeah.
imagine they have a whole host of.
Right.
I just didn't see.
Dan Gable. Well, thanks for bringing that name up.
There you go.
I had-
Isn't it good that you get those
I
memories?
was 12
that
years
spark
old and
something?
I watched every Olympic thing
Yes,
I could watch.
I did too.
I cried when
All
the
right.
Russians beat the after 3 attempts at the last.
Oh my God! Don't bring that
basketball.
up. Biggest ripoff ever.
Oh, okay. It made me sick.
And all right, so we're gonna.
All right, Gable
So
and
we're gonna vote on those
Sanderson,
later.
huh? Okay.
All right, you got anybody else from another sport
From
you want
another
to talk about?
sport,
Bring it on. You got more than just those couple.
Well, do you want to save them to vote for the next episode? Right?
No, maybe we'll just go through all of these. I don't know how long this has been so far, but we'll go through these.
Well, you started.
It's been about an hour.
Okay.
I mean, here's your list of.
All right.
I mean,
So I think we're halfway. So this is going to be a 2-part episode, so we're halfway. So thank you all for watching again.
we're finishing up. Okay.
This portion of
This
the
portion.
show.
Well, I'll be way more prepared next time.
Well, we're going to finish that next.
We could.
Oh, we're
could
gonna do it
recap.
next?
We could
Oh,
recap.
we're keeping
this.
it talking.
Yeah,
Okay.
but we're going to end this now
I got
here.
you. All right.
So
We can recap this
Yeah.
as far as who we listed so far, because I mean we threw out a couple of heavy hitters for
Yeah.
the who
So-
we're saying is most dominant.
yes. So thanks again. If you want to discuss, fuss, or cuss about anything we say, you can email me at ghicks@somersetmd.us, and I will read whatever you send, and hopefully we'll try to get more participation. So stay tuned. Part 2 will be coming up soon.
Bet you can't wait.
I'm sure you're on the edge of your seats. We'll talk to you soon.